Everyone tells you wealth starts at $1 million. That's a lie we've all quietly accepted, because long before $1 million, something strange happens. Something that completely changes how money controls your life. It happens around a number most people ignore. $20,000. That shouldn't matter. At least, that's what we're told. It's not flashy. It doesn't buy luxury. It doesn't impress anyone. Yet somehow, it changes everything. Not your lifestyle, your thinking, your decisions, your nervous system. Before this point, money feels heavy. Every bill carries weight. Every expense creates tension. You're always calculating, always adjusting, always preparing for something to go wrong. This isn't because you're bad with money. It's because your margin is too small. When margin is small, fear gets loud, and fear is expensive. Fear pushes people into bad jobs, bad deals, bad decisions made too fast. Most people don't realize this is happening. They think the problem is income, or just spleen, or motivation. But the real issue is fragility. Living without a buffer rewires your brain. It forces you into survival mode. In survival mode, long-term thinking disappears. You stop planning. You start reacting. That's how people get stuck for decades. Not because they don't work hard, but because pressure controls their choices. Money, at this stage, doesn't feel like a tool. It feels like a threat, a constant background noise. Always present, never quiet. Historically, humans feared immediate danger. Predators, hunger, cold. Modern money creates invisible danger instead. Uncertainty about the future. Missed paychecks, unexpected expenses. The brain reacts the same way. Stress hormones stay high. Sleep suffers. Decision-making narrows. Creativity shuts down. This is why financial stress feels exhausting. It never turns off. Most people think saving is about discipline. It's not. It's about capacity. You can't think clearly when you're always on edge. And this is where the first 20,000 matters, because something shifts. Not overnight, not dramatically, but unmistakably. For the first time, uncertainty feels manageable. An emergency becomes a problem, not a disaster. A bad month becomes uncomfortable, not fatal. You stop asking, what if everything collapses? You start asking, what's the downside, realistically? That question alone changes outcomes. Money stops shouting. It starts whispering. And in that quiet, better decisions appear. You slow down. You evaluate. You stop chasing. This is the moment most people never reach. Because they confuse relief with success. They spend the buffer that gave them peace. And the noise returns. But for those who protect it, life starts to feel different. Not richer. Safer. And safety is where growth actually begins. The moment safety enters your life, behavior changes. Not because you suddenly became smarter, but because pressure stepped back. When pressure stepped back, options appear. You stop grabbing the first opportunity out of fear. You start comparing, negotiating. This is invisible power. Most people never feel it. They think confidence comes from personality. In reality, confidence often comes from reserves, from knowing you can survive a bad outcome. That knowledge changes posture, tone. Clients feel it. People with financial margin speak slower. They ask better questions. They hesitate less when it matters. Because hesitation without fear is clarity. This is why two people earning the same income can live completely different financial lives. One is calm. The difference isn't intelligence. Historically, every major financial collapse hit those without margin first. The Great Depression wiped out savings overnight. Those with reserves survived. Those without were forced into desperation. In 2008, the pattern repeated. Layoffs punished the fragile, liquidity saved the prepared. History keeps teaching the same lesson. Margin isn't luxury, but ARMA isn't flashy. They chase returns. Instead, they want growth before stability. That order always ends badly. The first 20,000 creates optionality. Optionality is the real currency of wealth. It lets you wait. Waiting prevents bad deals, bad investments. Without optionality, you say yes too quickly. Yes to overtime. Yes to stress disguised as opportunity. With optionality, you pause, and pauses create leverage. This is where compounding quietly begins, not just financially. Behavior compounds before money does. People think compound interest starts in accounts. It actually starts in habits. Avoided mistakes matter more than big wins. One avoided disaster can outperform 10 smart investments, and the buffer prevents disasters. At this stage, money stops being emotional. You no longer attach identity to spending. You stop proving things. You buy less. You chase quality over status. This is how wealth actually looks early on. Quiet. That's why people miss it. They expect fireworks. Instead, they get stability. And stability isn't exciting, but it's powerful. This is also where investing finally makes sense. Before this point, investing feels abstract. Numbers on a screen, small gains. But with scale, returns become tangible. 8% stops being a theory. It becomes rent. Money working begins to feel real. And once you feel that once, everything changes because effort is no longer the only engine. Assets begin helping, slowly at first, but only if the foundation remains intact. This is why blowing the first buffer resets everything. The system collapses back into noise. Stress returns. Short-term thinking reappears. People think they're back to zero. They're not. And fear is expensive. Those who protect the buffer move differently. They stop upgrading lifestyle prematurely. They stop mistaking comfort for freedom. Because freedom isn't spending. Freedom is control. Control over decisions. That control starts small. And most importantly, the dangerous part comes next. This is where most people sabotage themselves. Not because they fail, but because they succeed slightly. A little relief feels like victory. And victory invites rewards. New expenses creeping quietly. Subscriptions. Commitments that don't feel risky. Until they are. This is how buffers disappear. Not in one dramatic mistake, but in dozens of small yeses. Yes to convenience. Yes to lifestyle inflation disguised as progress. The brain relaxes too much. It forgets how hard survival mode was. It forgets the cost of fragility. History shows this pattern clearly. Every boom creates overconfidence. Every overconfidence creates collapse. From personal finances to global economies. The cycle is identical. Build margin. Feel safe. The people who escape this loop understand one rule. Stability comes before growth. They treat the first 20,000 as untouchable. Not spending money, like the foundation of a building. You don't decorate foundations. you protect them because everything sits on top of them. This mindset separates builders from gamblers. Gamblers chase upsides. Builders eliminate downside. Eliminating downside compounds faster because survival is guaranteed. Once survival is guaranteed, optional risk is intelligent risk. People with buffers don't beg. They negotiate salaries calmly. They reject bad offers. That waiting often leads to better outcomes. Employers pay confident. This is uncomfortable to hear, but it's observable everywhere. Those who need money immediately get worse terms, get respect, and urgency weakens leverage. The buffer removes urgency. That's the real advantage, not returns. This applies beyond work, relationships, even friendships. People tolerate less nonsense. When survival isn't threatened, boundaries become easier. Saying no becomes natural. This improves life quality dramatically. Yet no one markets this part. There's nothing glamorous about it. No luxury imagery, no viral screenshots. Just calm. Modern data confirms this shift. Households with emergency savings report significantly lower stress, higher job satisfaction, better health outcomes. Money literally affects biology. Chronic stress shortens time horizons. Short time horizons create bad decisions. Bad decisions create poverty traps. This is why income alone doesn't fix things. Without buffer discipline, raises disappear. Progress resets. The first 20,000 breaks the trap, but only if protected. Once this rule is learned, wealth stops feeling mysterious. It becomes mechanical, slow. And that's the truth most people avoid, because slow success isn't exciting, but it works every single time. Look around today and the pattern is everywhere. Record incomes, record debt, record anxiety. People earn more than ever, yet feel poorer than before. Because margin is missing. Spending scaled faster than stability. Technology made life convenient, but also expensive. Fixed costs quietly multiplied. Streaming, financing, monthly commitments stacked on top of each other. The modern worker looks wealthy, but lives fragile. One missed paycheck away from panic. This isn't accidental. The system rewards consumption, not resilience. Marketing teaches you to upgrade, never to pause, never to consolidate, never to build buffers, because buffers reduce dependence, and dependence is profitable. The first 20,000 breaks that dependence. It returns control. Control over time, control over attention, control over choices. This is why it feels so different. Not because the number is magical, but because fragility disappears. Once fragility disappears, patterns repeat upward. You save more easily. You invest more consistently. You avoid obvious traps. Your life begins to stabilize. Stability compounds into freedom. This is the part nobody explains, because it doesn't sell dreams. It sells patience. But patience is rare, and rare things create advantage. So here are the truths that matter. First, wealth starts with defense, not offense. Before trying to grow money, make sure it can survive. Second, your biggest financial wins come from avoided mistakes, not lucky bets, not viral strategies. Third, money changes behavior before it changes lifestyle. If your thinking hasn't changed, your wealth won't last. The warning is simple. If you treat the first buffer as spending money, you will relieve the same stress again and again and again. But if you protect it, everything downstream improves. Your work, your relationships, your sleep, your decisions. The open question is this: will you use money to impress people or to free yourself? Because those paths diverge early, and the first 20,000 is where they split. If this changed how you see money, slow down before your next decision. That pause might be worth more than any investment. Subscribe for deeper explanations that most people never hear. Because understanding money isn't about getting rich. It's about staying in control.